Appamada and its programs are supported by your generosity, and your generosity and support makes such a difference. You can find a link for contributions on the website at appamada.org. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the, excuse me, Sunday morning Dharma talk. So I'd like to welcome all the folks in the sanghas, various sanghas from Madison, England, Switzerland, and Alpine, and then our friends in Chicago, Hawaii, Albuquerque, Vancouver, Scotland, and all those areas in between. Welcome, welcome. I'd like to start with the upcoming events. There's just a few of them, and I want to be sure that I mention them because they're important. They're things that are coming up pretty quick. So the first one is the 8th and 9th of April. There's a one-day sitting that's going to be presented by Joel. It's the 9th and 10th, I'm sorry. It's Friday night and then all day Saturday. So the registration for that should be coming out soon, so you can sign up for that. And then the following day, the 11th of April, will be for the Dharma talk on Sunday. We'll be doing the ceremony for Buddha's birthday. So that should be fun, and it should be very interesting how we film it because we're going to try to do it in the garden. So anyway, we look forward to that. So please come. Also, I just want to announce, there's been a lot of announcements about it already, but having tea with Kim, it is such a pleasure. If you do it and on Zoom, his wife will do part of the tea ceremony for you, and it's just enchanting. I highly recommend doing that. And then I hear he's been doing some with people who have been vaccinated. So either way, sign up for that. It'll be a great opportunity to talk with him. Also, Kim will be doing the introduction to Zoom classes. It's a series of 3 classes. The dates are the 7th of April, the 21st of April, and the 5th of May. And what time of day is that, Kim?
It's at 12:05 to 12:55, but it's not introduction to Zoom. It's introduction to Zen practice.
Did I say Zoom? I'm sorry.
They might be the same thing. I don't know.
I'm sorry. That may be the way this goes here today. Anyway, and lastly, I'd like to announce the Precepts program will be offered late April. So there'll be a notice going out on that too. But I just wanted you all to know that these are the things that are coming up right now. Is there anything else that I missed that I need to mention? Okay.
Workday.
Oh,
day.
Yeah. Today we have a work day. It starts at 11:30 to 3:30. You can go in hour shifts, I guess. There's a lot to do in the garden. The garden has really exploded, mostly in weeds, but in other things as well. So we could really use some help out there. So, and there are other various tasks related to that. I'm not sure who's head of that. At any rate, there'll be somebody heading it up.
Jessica, and you can sign up by finding the email that she sent.
Do you need to sign up, Kim?
Well, she only wants 4 people at a time.
Very good. Okay, thank you. All righty, I think that's it. So off we go. So in this practice, when I look at this, do you feel like I'm looking at you guys? Okay. It's really hard. There's like a foot space there, and I always want to see people's faces. So anyway, I'm going to try to focus on the camera. We'll see how that goes. Or anyway, so we consistently hear from our Zen teachers that this is an embodied practice. And the question for today's talk is, what is the actual feeling of true practice? So this whole question came up in a Dharma talk by Suzuki Roshi. The talk is called Being Kind with Yourself. And that talk is contained in, it was transcribed for the book, Not Always So. And I read this talk and I was very intrigued by it for several reasons. One was a question of language and just the way he's approaching the idea of true practice, what that feels like. So from the beginning, Suzuki Roshi says the aim, the goal here is to have a complete experience, or what he calls full feeling, in every moment of practice. Complete experience or full feeling. And he also says that in Zen Buddhism, enlightenment and in practice are one. Okay, so those are kind of the underlying things. So Suzuki Roshi talks about his early days in the monastery, and there were a lot of things that weren't explained. He didn't understand, and so when he would practice, he would say to himself, well, I understand this much, and so I'm going to practice. And next year, I'll understand a little bit more. And so he found that with that over time, he realized that that approach to his practice was not optimal, in the sense that because he was thinking of the future, of knowing more, he wasn't focusing on just now and what he was doing in practice. And because of that, he called it a step ladder approach, or step ladder zazen. And he says that, you might do that too. And if so, you might think about it, because it doesn't really make much sense. And it doesn't make you're never satisfied with your practice, because there's kind of this looking ahead. Well, it's this way, but it's going to be, which I thought was a very interesting way of looking at that. Instead, he suggests that when we approach practice, it's more a question of having a warm, big satisfaction. And if that isn't there, then it's not true practice. He says if you try to maintain this right posture that we are instructed to do, and count breaths like you're instructed to do, it can be a very lifeless zazen, in fact. And why is that? Because you're just following instructions. You're not really there. But most importantly, he says, it's because you're not being kind to yourself. And the teacher's instruction is actually to encourage the students to be kind with themselves. So he says, don't just count your breaths. with the idea that you'll avoid your thinking mind. Rather, be kind with your breathing, which means be with the breathing. Watch the first breath, the inhalation, then the exhalation, and then the next breath, the same, paying attention. He says if you do this, then you will have a warm feeling. The word warm feeling drives me crazy because I think I'm not exactly sure what he means. I have an idea, but I'm not quite sure. At any rate, he says warm feeling. His native language is Japanese, so I think that has that's playing in here. At any rate, and he also recommends that we pay attention to our posture in the same way. That is, we pay attention to it and not just, to do what we're told, to be followed, but rather to realize, to be kind in that, to have this kindness toward ourselves in our posture. We're taking care of our bodies when we're doing it. This posture that we use is something that was developed over millennia. So it's being kind while we're doing it. He compares it to the natural feeling that a mother might have towards her child. Now, when I think of this, I don't think of a warm feeling. I think more specifically of tender care. So that's kind of the way I'm interpreting it. Maybe that's right, maybe it's not. But anyway, that's kind of, it's more than just a warm feeling. It's, when the child is crying or needs something, the mother acts. She might not know what'll make it happy, but she acts. She does this kindness to it. So is it tender care? Is it mindful care? Is it compassion? Yeah, that's up to debate. I don't know. Anybody can say what they think that might be. Does anybody have any ideas based on what I'm describing? Yeah. I can't hear you.
Can I unmute? Can I?
There you are.
So I was thinking that the result of tender care is warmth,
Uh-huh.
a warm feeling.
Yeah. Okay, that's kind of what I think, but anybody have any ideas either? Okay, anyway, so Suzuki Roshi says this warm feeling in practice is a good example of, and this is another term that blew me away, great mercy of Buddha. I have never heard the great mercy of Buddha. Have you guys heard that before? Have you, Joel? I haven't either. I don't know where that came from. Anyway, I think maybe that be a translation issue too. The person who helped him transcribe. But anyway, I kind of substitute great compassion of Buddha. I think maybe that's better. But anyway, that kind of threw me in. Great mercy of, and actually it is online. I did some research on it, and that term does exist, and Kuan Yin comes up, and then Canon and Avalokiteshvara. But at any rate, I've never seen that in writing before. So then, is he saying that as we sit, we're attentive to each breath, attentive to the body, in the way, with tender care, and in the way of Avalokiteshvara, with compassion? That seems to be what he's saying, that's a part of it. So there's a lot going on when we're sitting. We're paying attention to a lot, and then these, have this sense of tender care and then warmth. So I thought that was a way that that Zazen, or true practice being described, was kind of new. It's a little bit different than how I've heard it before. And so I've been kind of practicing with it since I started reading this, and it's different. It was different for me. So when we do a practice in a little bit, we'll do that and see if it's different for you or just the same or what have you. Anyway, I'll go on. So Suzuki Roshi told a story about Tozan Ryokai, who was a person who had been enlightened many times. And as he was crossing a river, he saw himself reflected in the river. And he came up with a verse. And the verse is, don't try to figure yourself out. If you try, what you understand will be far away from you. You will just have an image of yourself. So Suzuki Roshi says, actually, you are the river. You may only see a reflection, say, in a river or in a mirror, but looking closely with a warm-hearted feeling that we mentioned before, that is you. I just love that. It was like thinking in those ways brings us closer, is the way I see it, as feeling that sense that everything is connected all at once. You know, that was kind of my sense of it. But that was... So when you see yourself with this warm feeling in the mirror, and whenever you do, you are there. You are there. So then he goes on to say that whenever you do something, now we're talking about acts. So whenever you do something with a warm-hearted feeling, Manjushri, the Bodhisattva of wisdom, is there. And there is the true you. So, and I'm wondering if that rings true for anyone. It did for me. It's like, we talk sometimes about being in a situation and finding a gap. So the gap where you change your habitual behavior. You're in a kind of a tight spot, and then all of a sudden you have a sense of spaciousness, and then you act in some way or you say something in a different way, and the situation can be liberated. You're liberating the situation by what you say, and then the interaction completely changes. And I thought, what a great way to express that is Manjushri is there. It's the wisdom part that comes in. I never thought of that way either. So Manjushri is there. So you do something entirely new in a skillful way. So he says,
Miriam asked you to repeat that end with Manjushri saying.
Well, I just said, basically, when you do something with this warm feeling we've been talking about, this tender care and the warmth that comes from it, in a situation, yeah. Marin, can you unmute? There you go.
And just a whole paragraph before that came before the ending that ends with Manjushri said. So you first read like a couple lines.
I was talking about the river. Was it after the river?
Yes, I think so.
I don't know. I don't really go with.
Well, it's just what you just read.
Okay. Well, okay.
Before Manjushri said.
Well, he didn't say anything, but whenever you do something with this warm feeling, this tenderness, this tender care, and have this warmth, Manjushri, the Bodhisattva of
Yes.
wisdom, is there. That's
Okay.
it. And so not only is he there, there is the true you. There is the true you. And then from there, I was just giving some examples.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So, okay, so then he goes on to say that when you do something with your warm-hearted mind, there is that is actual practice. So it's like this is the key component to our practice. And that's really how to take care of things and how to communicate with others. Well, yeah, that's true. And it's not as easy as we think, but when it happens, it's clear. It's Manjushri's wisdom and cutting through and just saying what needs to be said. So regardless of your situation or circumstance, and whatever you do, Manjushri is there with you. And according to Suzuki Roshi, the secret is not to forget this true mercy of Buddha or the compassion of Buddha. I prefer to say it that way. It makes more sense to me. And the compassion of Buddha takes care of everything. So this is just a whole different way that I've heard talking about these archetypes, the bodhisattvas, that it's like, I don't know that it's actually invoking them when you're going about your day, but maybe that's what it is, or maybe it's just being aware that that's what it is when you do change your habit pattern, you find spaciousness or wisdom, comes in a moment from apparently out of nowhere. I mean, that's Manjushri. So, so the secret is, as I said, to remember the compassion of Buddha, and because if otherwise, what we do doesn't really make sense. He says, doesn't make sense if we're not thinking of this compassion of the Buddha. So, in short, we put emphasis on our warm heart and warm zazen. And the warm feeling in practice is, in other words, enlightenment. Buddha's mercy, Buddha's compassion, Buddha's mind. Isn't that incredible? I mean, to say a sentence like that, it just wowed me. The warm feeling in our practice, that tender care that tender care that brings about this warmth that we have, is actually enlightenment, compassion, Buddha's compassion and Buddha's mind. So, returning to Zazen, just taking care of the breath while inhaling and exhaling, just like the mother takes care of a child. And that close relationship between mother and child is like being one with your practice. And that's the point of Zazen. And he goes on saying that, we have these rules, these forms that we have to follow. And he says, occasionally it's good not to follow them. That if you do not follow them, that it's an opportunity actually for your teacher to not criticize you, but to help you, to be involved, to improve your practice. And that's what all this is all about. So that's the end of the talk. And I suggest from this to think about being kind to ourselves as we sit and develop that warm feeling that creates true practice. So what I'd like to do is I thought we could practice with this. Maybe you guys already do all this. Do you do this? I don't. Not in this way. Anyway, I thought we could practice it. And so let's see. Nancy, are you the monitor? Yeah, okay. So what I thought we would do, with instructions first, or 10, we'll sit for 10 minutes in groups of 3. We'll all sit for 3 minutes. So we have to get another, I know you guys, some of you have been sitting for a long time, but another 10 minutes just to practice what I've just been talking about, is paying attention to the inhalation, the exhalation, and not just paying attention to what you're doing, but the way in which it's being done. What is your, having care, feeling tender care towards yourself while you do that. And then also at the same time doing, do the same thing with your posture. If you start to slump, don't slap yourself around. It's, tender care. And then we'll do 15 minutes of discussion. You guys will, or we will, where we talk about that experience and if there was anything any different than before or not. So, does that seem clear? Any questions?
So we will do breakout room for 3 people in one room, right?
Yeah, we're 18, so that would be 6, and I'll be in a breakout room too.
Oh, okay.
Might as well practice it myself.
Right, and
Here's the questions. I need to go back to this. So what do you feel? What feeling do you have? Do you have this warm feeling as you attend to your body and breath, and then just share that with your partners? That's the official questions. See what that experience is like. Okay, thank you very much. I was interested, does anybody have any comments from their discussions in the groups? Okay, all righty. Then I guess we got to finish up our ritual here, and we'll be done. Thank you so much.